It's updating.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
sooner or later, about the time the meeting's over, you'll be working.
He's working on mine, so.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead. All right, it is 7:30. I will call this meeting to order. Would you please join for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Terry Wycombe,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stephen Sanger,
Here.
Councilmember Darrell Gardner,
Here.
Councilmember Tanya Lumen,
Here.
Councilmember Bruce Seeloff,
Here.
Councilmember Jacqueline Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Chris Weisenberg.
Here.
All right. So the next thing on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Vice Mayor Sanger.
I move to approve the July 18th, 2023 City Council agenda as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the July 2023, July, what was the date, 23?
July 18th, 2023.
18th, 2023, okay, because I'm thinking I'm looking at the different meeting. Sorry, 2023 City Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
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 Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor Sanger.
I move to approve the city consent agenda July 18th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the city consent agenda July 18th, 2023 as presented. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
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 Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is citizens' participation. This is a time set aside pursuant to resolution number 2C-96, where a citizen can come and address the city council on anything that is not on the agenda. And is there anybody here that would like to address the city council at this time? Please come forward, state your name, and sign in, I believe.
Good evening. My name is Mike Armstrong, and some of you may know me as an ex-reporter of the Saratoga Sun. And what I am presenting to you is a new paper that has come to Carbon County. It's all of Carbon County, and it's free to the public. We're trying to get it out as best as we can. We published 1,200 copies of it the first round. 1,175 went out for distribution, and we actually were given 150 copies extra. We only have 30 left. Second week, we're at 1,200, and I have 6 in my car. That's all I have left. We're going to be going up 1,000 in the week to come. We are covering all of the county. We're looking to be equal to northern Carbon County, to Little Snake River, to Rawlins, and to the valley. And I'm going to give you guys a copy so you can sort of get an idea of what we're doing. And it is all in color. Right now in Rawlins, and we do have a list of where you can get it and available. But just to give you an idea is that we're not only going to target towards the residents, but it is also being taken at, Brush Creek is taking 100, the Econo Lodge is taking 100, the Saratoga Resort has taken 1 for every single one of their rooms, the Virginian has taken 40, so that the residents also, the visitors, get an understanding of what they're seeing in Carbon County. So because of this, we're trying to set the bar fairly high on the stories that are coming out, and we're not really trying to do anything sensational. We want to try and cover stories that show the good of what Carbon County has and all the different municipalities and what they participate. My background is I've had 6 years working with the Sun, and although we didn't really cover Rawlins very much, I did cover a little bit of what happened with the county. I do know your mayor, and we're just, we're on our second week, third week. Tomorrow I've got another deadline, and there are times where I'm saying, what did I get myself into? But there's a lot of pride with all the compliments that we're getting, and that's really the best compliment I can have. So that's all I have to really say.
Thank you.
Please enjoy it. Look
Thank
for it
you.
where you can. I'm not saying they're collector items yet, but
Thank you.
Thank you.
look, I do have an extra.
Thank you.
Goes to Tom. He's in this particular issue. I have to say thank you. Special shout out to Tom and Myra for helping me understand things that I'm going to just have to learn because I don't know Rawlins that well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I read your first one, and it was entertaining. So, cool. Is there anybody else that would like to address the city council? Seeing none, we will go to the next thing on our agenda, which is a proclamation that I will read right now. And it is the 40th Annual National Night Out for 2023. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch and the Rawlins Police Department are sponsoring a nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program on August 1st, 2023, called National Night Out. And whereas the 40th Annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for the City of Rawlins to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative law enforcement community crime prevention efforts. And whereas victim advocates play a vital role in assisting the Rawlins Police Department through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in Rawlins, and is supporting National Night Out 2023. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of Rawlins be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in Rawlins. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety awareness, and cooperations are important themes of the National Night Out program. I, Terry L. Wycombe, Mayor of the City of Rawlins, do hereby proclaim August 1st, 2023 as National Night Out 2023 and urge all citizens to join the Rawlins Police Department and the National Association of Town Watch in supporting the 40th Annual National Night Out. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, thank you very much for the proclamation. Mike Ward with the City Police. This will be my third National Night Out since I've been here. National Night Out traces its roots back to 1984, and it has become nationally one of the most important law enforcement and community engagement activities. We have a good turnout here. Many of you have been there before, and I'd love to see you there again. So far this year, we're receiving very strong support from local businesses in terms of donations. Steelhouse Blues is going to be playing. Classic Air is going to be there, and many of our law enforcement partners. I'm looking forward to seeing you and as many of the community members as possible.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody should go. It's a good time and good food. Thank you, Chief. All right, next thing on our agenda is City Council reports. We'll go to Board of Adjustments. Councilman Seeloff.
Our next meeting's Thursday night. We've got one on the list on there right now, and that's all we got going right now.
All right, thank you. The next one is Carbon County Council of Governments. I'm on that board. We're just about to have a meeting. I'll report at the next meeting, more than likely. Haven't had a meeting since the last time I reported. DDA Main Street, Vice Mayor Sanger.
Yeah, we had our meeting yesterday. We were covering all the old business that we have within the DDA. We have some roof issues with the Ferguson building, some agreements that we have to sign, the Summerfest takeover and splash pad update. We got our update to that. And then within new business, we have contracts, trade agreements. We're working on a building to store the 5 buildings worth of stuff in that we have. A WAC grant, the Wyoming Community Foundation, and the Brownsfield Conference. And we have a couple of Brownsfield buildings in our downtown area. So that's really important to us, those grants that we got for that. And then we're working with a solar company. They want to do some work on our building to see if they can make solar in the downtown a thing where we don't have to spend so much money on electricity. Other than that, that's about it.
It sounds like quite a bit. Thank you. Rawlins Planning Commission, Councilman Weisenberg.
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right. Urban Systems Committee, Councilman Garner.
I don't have any updates.
Okay. Thank you. Next thing is Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee update to the City Council. And I will turn the floor over to you, Jason.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I will be brief. I wanted to just provide a brief overview about the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Our city has boards, commissions, and a committee. Advisory committees are structured in a way for individual citizens to share their opinions and perspectives, study issues, and develop recommendations in a focused small group atmosphere. Our Parks and Rec Advisory Committee agendas are mostly are basically set out by staff with the recommendations of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So basically, a committee has more staff involvement. And I just wanted to kind of give you that background. I'm going to hand the floor over to Abby Perry, our vice chairperson for the committee, and like to ask, we have a lot of slides to go through. We're going to burn through them and maybe hold questions till the end. Unless you really want to ask a question throughout, that's fine as well. So I'd like to introduce Abby Perry, our vice chairperson for the committee.
Hello.
Hi,
I
Abby.
think that Jason's going to work through slides for me, so, or Meyer, it doesn't matter.
Is it going to be hard?
No. No, you're
If
good.
it's going to be hard, she's going to hand it off.
No, you're
That's
good.
what I got.
No, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Perfect. All right, so this is just sort of a brief overview of what our committee looks like. We were formed middle of the summer last year, 9 adults. We started out with 1 high school representative and 1 middle school representative, but came back here and asked for more. It's great to have that kind of input and see what kids actually want. We meet on the first Thursday of every month. During the summer, we move that to Wednesday so that folks can go to music in the park. This project is a planting that happened here at City Hall, and although this project began before this group formed, it follows the format that Parks and Rec and the committee kind of work on together. And so I think it's a nice just sort of example, and you'll see the same sort of language and format as we move through and talk about different projects. But it being that sort of identify the project, create a team, that's the staff and the committee, gather input, work on partnerships, funding, setting goals. Then we actually have the event and then get feedback. So I think that that's pretty straightforward. So this particular project was all about creating more deer-resistant plantings outside of City Hall, maybe something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. It used to be all Russian sage. So again, all about forming a team, developing a partnership with the University of Wyoming Extension, and then also a 4-H club was involved in that as well.
Abby,
And then, oh yeah.
I do have a question. So the slide you showed us, is that from 2 years ago?
Yes, so we'll have pictures in just a second of kind of working through things of what it looked like the day of the planting, sort of first year, second year, and what it looks like now.
But if you came in the building, what you see outside right now was that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So here's just some pictures. What we did is put together an actual planting class, so as an instruction on kind of how to design a landscape and a little bit of labor to actually get things planted. So this is community members working together with parks staff and little education piece. So this is, it's got the dates on there. This is fall of 2021. So like I mentioned, it used to just be all Russian sage. So the Parks Department came in, removed all of the Russian sage, actually gave it away to community members. So there was truck bed full of Russian sage that people came and picked up. Then it was just about improving the aesthetics and getting a lot of like positive feedback from people. And I think the next slides will then be, So this is what it looked like last summer. Things are kind of a little bit small, but nice of variety in color, things blooming. And then this is what it looks like this summer. So I think it'll just, eventually things will get to a point where they won't get bigger, but I think here for a few years they just kind of continue to progress and add variety. So I think that that's meeting the goal of that project.
Looks great.
So the next one is more of a project that's in progress. So this was installing cornhole courts at the horseshoe pits, or where the horseshoe pits used to be, now it's sort of shared space at Washington Park. And so this was a project that the park staff kind of dreamt up, talking to community members, getting feedback about, hey, we'd really like to have cornhole. And then went out and found people to sponsor these cornhole boards. So a little bit of grant money and a little bit of going to businesses and asking for them to pay for it. I think that they have 5 of the 6 boards actually paid for and getting installed soon. Right. Okay. So this is something that the parks staff does quite a bit, and it's sort of like leveraging their time and effort. So they did all of the prep work for the concrete in order to shave off a few dollars of that bid, and then being able to get more bang for your buck, and this is something that they do quite a bit. And then they revamped the existing horseshoe pits. I've heard rumblings, I can't remember from who now, about people playing horseshoes. Was there that music in the parks last week?
Yeah,
did you say that? Okay.
There's been several people playing.
So they took out the clay that was in those pits and put in sand. And just another way to kind of increase what people have available for them to do in the community. So this is another thing that's sort of in the planning stages being talked about, and that's implementing middle school dances for the rec center a couple times a year, 3 to 4 times a year. So this is mostly recreation staff working on this plan, developing it, like Jason's brought it to us on the committee. But this is one of those things that comes back from that community survey about, hey, we want more things for kids to do. And then, partnership with the city and the middle school. And then it's also an opportunity to bring in a little bit more revenue to the rec center. So I know that the mountain bike trail recreation area has been brought to council before. So this is something that really kind of got dreamed up, I think first probably with Tyrell and Jason, but then it came to the committee, and it's something that the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee is really excited about and hoping, comes to fruition. But basically right now, just kind of conversations with the BLM and creating excitement, partnerships, and figuring out how we can make that work between city, council, BLM, and then a role for the committee as well. The Washington Park tennis courts replacement, this is something that's in the grant process. It sounds like the funds will be coming in, but you don't have a check in hand for them. But this would be replacing the tennis courts at Washington Park. So these are more planning stages, the Tiny Tot sports camps for 3 to 5-year-olds. The staff are brainstorming different kinds of ideas and things to do with them. The idea of more parent and me classes, arts and crafts, dance classes, cooking classes, that kind of thing. Just opportunities to explore and do more. With those cornhole boards coming in at Washington Park, it's an opportunity for a league to form or tournaments to be put on by the Parks and Rec. And then so staff and community members went out and actually painted the lines on the tennis courts that are at Washington Park now for pickleball. And so that's there and in existence, and I think just another opportunity for recreating. I know that you've had reports of people using the space and appreciating it as well. It looks really sharp. I was impressed. This is another opportunity for kids to be able to do something for revenue type stuff. This is Kids Night Out events. So the staff are basically just working on coming up with some ideas, some schedule, and something to have available in the winter months. Our alternative turf grass project, I know we've come before council before to talk about that. So this is looking at options other than, your traditional like Kentucky bluegrass lawns in Rawlins. And we have laid seed at Washington Park and at Rob Roy, and hopefully have something to report back on that. But just another cool thing that the Parks Department is doing and trying to provide the citizens with information. The new disc golf baskets at Washington Park, they look sharp, and definitely seeing lots of people using them, and with the tournament this last weekend getting lots of use. There's something in the works as far as being able to donate the old baskets to the old pen, so that tournaments like they just did, that they can have something like that where they can do regularly or more consistently, permanently. That part's kind of up in the air, but they've been given the all clear to be able to donate those baskets to the old pen. This is something that the demonstration garden at Tully Park, being able to basically take the east section of that park, is that right? And put together some different kinds of demonstration gardens, looking at either like crevice gardens or more cactus, low water plants. There's some different topography back there when you get to kind of the residential fence line that's behind it, where you could maybe even do some rain garden type stuff and just experiment, but have a place for citizens to come and learn. So there was a grant that the Parks Department applied for to be able to implement something like this, and those funds didn't work out, but like there's a plan in place to be able to do that sort of thing in the future and pursue more grant funds. So just more sort of in progress work. I know that the rec staff is really interested in doing more leisure activities, so cooking classes, arts and craft classes, just adding more health and fitness to what they're already doing and providing, gardening, dance, music, just all of those sorts of things. So these are in planning stages. This last year, they worked on the outdoor ice skating rink, and that's something that another Park and Rec Advisory Board member was committee member was really passionate about. And that the rink was in use for about 3 months. I think it got quite a bit of use. Seemed like one of the hang-ups was snow removal on it, but got a lot of positive feedbacks both at committee member and I think the Parks and Rec staff. And so that's something that they'll be bringing forward to council again in the fall. This is all about revamping park signage all around the parks here in town. So what each park received is a little bit different, and maybe we can just look at the pictures of those. So this is Rob Roy Park, a picture before, a picture after. So this is one of those that they created this space to be able to, eventually plant into like landscape-wise, but it already looks a lot better, even though there aren't like plants planted into that, just cleaning up this space and putting out mulch and whatnot. And then the planters are there this year. Tully Park also with the planters. And this is Washington Park, so revamping what the sign looked like. And then the other picture is kind of an in-between middle of bare ground, and then these next pictures show it with mulch and then with the planters. So it really looks nice. So the Urban Orchard is another project that the city and University of Wyoming have partnered on. So over 50 trees have been planted in there, and it is really cool, all of the fruit that we are already seeing, cherries and apples. And anyway, when we first planted this, I think there's a picture on the next slide, Myra. So actually Tom came out and helped when labor that day. And then one of the local preschoolers came and all of the kids helped plant. So again, just sort of involving community members and kids that get to look back and say, hey, we help plant those trees. It's a pretty cool thing. So the skate park, of course, I think that you are all intimately familiar with the skate park and that project, but again, funds coming from City Council, holding town hall meetings to be able to get feedback from people. I know that they actually went and sat down with students to get feedback on what they wanted. Again, that's part of why we have those students on our committee to be able to get some of that feedback. And then all of the local donations. I think that really shows you that this is something that the community wanted. And so here, the computer generated, and I think that Jason has the actual pictures up here too of what it looks like, with plans to be able to, make that a full loop. So the dog park, again, a project that I know that you're familiar with. So funds get allocated, getting feedback from the citizens, and then the feedback that I hear from community members, I'm sure that you all hear from community members, they all really love the dog park. Lots and lots of out-of-state traffic too. And then just some pictures.
Were they putting a fountain in there yet? Water?
What was the question?
A water fountain for
There
the
is
dogs?
plans. We have it's a hydration station and a water fountain that's going to go in between the skate park and the dog park. We just need to find the time and the staff to install it and run a line. But yeah, it should be done this fall.
Okay, that's great.
So then the Arbor Day celebration and education event, this was a little bit different than how the city's done it in the past. Added some educational components to it this year, but there was $4,500 in tree sales. There's a new sticker fundraiser that kind of got kicked off at Arbor Day that brought in $1,300. We built a geodesic dome, had classes at the Higher Ed Center, and I think that there was 8 different agencies that contributed in one way or another. So again, another really cool just community project. So this is the geodesic dome that's at the Urban Orchard. And then all of the trees prior to the tree sale. And then Weed and Pass brought in Stan. They were one of the presentations the second day. But again, this is just one of those community partners who participated. And then we've got a few pictures of all of the upgrades that have been done to the rec center. And if you want to show those. And then something that the rec staff has really been working on in the last couple of years is the summer camp programs. So this is something that while Boys and Girls Club is closed at the beginning of the summer, the rec center has provided, a space for kids to go, opportunities for them. So this is for 6 to 12-year-olds. That's mainly the summer kickoff camp, and then also doing the Tuesdays in July. And then the play group with the parenting kids 5 and under is up here Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to noon. The indoor roller skating rink, another great success, and I think getting that feedback from the community about we need another thing for us to go and do, especially in the winter. But they had 80 to 90 participants on average, more when for those sponsored events. It was offered all winter on Friday and Saturdays, and then there's opportunities for more depending on, special events or like parties. As far as the grants that Parks and Rec brings in, this is how like a lot of these projects come to fruition, is with these grant funds. So in the last year alone, staff has secured nearly $500,000 in local, state, and federal grants. And then there's others that are still pending, like that, you know, the tennis courts that we haven't quite heard back on, but seem promising. So recently, the Park and Rec staff received the Community Hero Award at WHAM, and I know that that was just at a recent meeting where you recognized those folks, but wanted to put it in here. And that's it. That's the update. Questions, I guess. I will do my best.
I like your rock snakes too. I thought that was
Oh
cute.
yeah, there were some pictures. So we had a presentation that somehow between earlier today and tonight, some pictures went missing, and those were in there. And I think that that's really cool, fun thing
Really
that,
cool.
that they put out. So
All I have to say is I've seen most of those projects. They're just awesome, and how you get all that done in that short amount of time is just sheer tenacity and determination, and it has really improved our community. And I want to thank you all for your time. It doesn't go unnoticed.
thank you.
People see it. They comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Our area around the city hall is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next thing on our agenda is city manager and staff reports, and so I will turn the floor over to you, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I've got several things to share with you tonight that's happened in the last couple of weeks that have been exciting. City of Rawlins. On July 6th, a couple of weeks ago, we had our kickoff meeting for our water master plan, our level 1 water master plan, and we had George Mosier here with us from the Wyoming Water Development Commission, and several people to help us kick that project off. Several things within that project that we worth noting is the completion date is set for July 30th of 2024. So within a year, we're hoping to have the project complete. Several things within that project that will be done. One is a population growth and demand projections as to where we look for the city to expand, you know, the population and where infrastructure will eventually go and how to plan for that. They will look at our water sources through the springs at Sage Creek down through the wells and possible wells in town. What will be included in that. Groundwater will be included in that. They will inventory the city's water supply, treatment, and distribution systems, so that will all be included within that. So we will start soon to hold monthly meetings on this, and I will inform council as to when those meetings are, and council is welcome to attend those. July the 10th, last Monday, we were able to host several state and federal agencies at the City of Rawlins to talk about funding for our water transmission line and our projects. We were able to have Beth Blackwell from SLIB was here with us. Jen Thompson was here from the governor's office. Lillian Freed was here from USDA, and Glenn Pauly from Rural Development. So we had lots, and then we had the EPA and the DEQ were zoomed in with us. A couple things from that is they recommend that we look at the transmission line project as one project including city, within the city, water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure. So they want us to take a more holistic approach of our project. So we are developing that, and then also from there is the state has announced an ARPA 4 grant, and the recommendation from that group is that we ask for design money for the transmission line. So next council meeting, we will bring 2 resolutions for council consideration. The first will be to apply for the grant, and the second will be the match that we will have, that we will make for the grant. We have an MRG grant that we could use some of that as a match, but then we'll also have to dip into our cash reserves a little bit for the remainder of that match. And we will have those amounts and a description of that at the next council meeting. Last Saturday, we had the community cleanup day, and I think it was a success. We were able to clean up lots of areas and streets within Rawlins. Right after that, we had the naming of the skate park, the J.R. Joshua Rodriguez Skate Park. That was just a tremendous, I want to say, ceremony gathering. Very emotional talks about J.R. thoughts and different things for J.R., and it's a very good thing for our community. I would like to announce that Stephanie Paulson, our Human Resources Director, graduated from the Leadership Carbon County last Monday night, which is a good thing for our community. Thursday night will be Music in the Park that we usually have. We will have Rocky Athos on this Thursday, and then the following Thursday we will have Trouble Bound, a band that'll be here, and then we will have a week off from that because of the Carbon County Fair. And that is my report.
There's a lot going on. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Tom? Okay. We will. Okay.
So, I don't have a question.
Okay.
Well, I guess I have a question. I was gonna ask, when we do our, when we send out board docs, can we include the revisions on each reading that we do? So, we had the revisions for Title 19 on 2 or 3 meetings back, and then the second reading, there's no revisions there, and on the third reading, there's no revisions included. And the only reason I ask is I was called tonight and asked for the revisions, and I had a hard time finding them. I had to go back and find them, and I just feel like it'd be easier for people when they're following at home, or if they're just looking at line, when they open board docs, they can say, okay, I got the revisions here. Even if nothing changed, at least they still have the original document with revisions, and then they can have the new document next to it.
Sure, we can
It
do
says it on board docs already. If you look at it for Title 19.
Okay.
Hold on one second, let me cancel.
So if I go to the
If you go to-
unfinished business on ordinance,
If you go to the ordinance and you bring up the content, it says there right in the very beginning, the only change from the second reading to the third and final reading was that a couple C3s had been missed when reviewing, and they were not changed to Is. Now all 3 C3s have been changed to Is.
correct? But
So then on the second reading, it said on the second one, it said there was no change from the first reading to the second reading. And it was all in red, just like that. So I've been doing this so that people can see it. Then if there is a change, it will be marked, it's marked on board docs. The document will have the change to it.
right,
So,
but not the document that's on today's
yeah,
meeting.
not this one because there was
Correct.
only
and that's what I'm getting at, is they were looking for the original document, and so I found it after going back a couple days.
It was the first reading and
Right.
second reading.
So just for citizens, just to make it easier, have it for every reading that if there are changes, that it's just included with the
Okay.
meeting.
It might, okay, that's fine. I
Yeah,
can do that.
because I've seen the red, and that works for us because we've seen the original document. But for somebody who missed the first one, or just joined
Right.
on the second reading.
But so if you went back to the previous meeting that we had, it said on the very top that there was no change from the first reading to the second reading.
Right,
So-
and so they would have to go back to that, read that, then go back again, and keep going through the meetings until they find it. So I'm just trying to make it more simple to find
So
the
I guess I'm
comparable.
not really, so you want, hold on. So you want me to do after all of these, from the second reading, saying there's no change, and then on the third reading, say there was no change from the first reading to the second reading, and then from the second reading to the third reading. You want that all in red, and then you want different documents attached to all board docs, is that correct? So that.
No, I just want the if we could get the revision with
The original.
the original with the revisions with
The document
with the new
itself.
one, yeah, just a document,
So no change, no change. There's been a change. Both of them are there.
yeah,
That's what I just asked, if both of them, yes. Okay.
okay.
And Tanya?
Oh, I was on the next item.
Oh, okay.
Moving on, huh?
I was moving on.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything more for that part? If not, we'll go to the next thing, which is direction from City Council to City Manager. Does anybody have anything?
I apologize. That's what I meant that for.
Nobody? Okay, got me confused. All right, so,
So you have a light week.
yeah,
You have a light week.
there's not many. Yeah, sure.
I'm just starting it off that way.
There's not many, so. All right, so then we'll go to unfinished business, which is the ordinance. Councilman Lumen?
I move to approve the third and final reading and waive the reading of the ordinance of the governing body of the City of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, amending Rawlins Municipal Code, Title 19 zoning.
Is that what you meant?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the third and final reading and waive the reading of the ordinance of the governing body of the City of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, amending Rawlins Municipal Code Title 19 zoning. Is there any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I did have one question, and I know Louis is gone. So, in this ordinance, did we change the definition of a residential zone? My understanding is a residential zone has a residence, but we're going to allow garages without a residence. Are they still going to be considered a residential zone? That's explained in the, does that make sense?
To answer that, because of sitting through that, it's still going to have to meet all setbacks for an R7.5, R6, whatever new residential zones are put forward in the future, if any are done. It's still going to have you meet the setbacks to build a resident on that property. It has to meet that to be able just to build a garage on that property.
But we redefined it, correct?
Redefine the word residential? Is that, no, there's no need to redefine the word residential in those. It's, you still have to, it's a residential zone. It's all zoned, we're not spot zoning anything. And then you still have to meet all requirements of that zone. Before there was a requirement, you had to build a resident on the property within 6 months
Yeah.
of establishing a garage, if that was the case, okay? This isn't requiring that to be done, but it has to meet the setbacks for future. So there's no need to redefine residential.
So even though there isn't a resident on that lot, you're talking it's potential resident?
Yes, it'll be a potential.
Still capable.
Okay.
Incapable, yes.
My other question. So we got a map from 2019 of all the zoning. Is the next project going to be a current map with all the exceptions?
I think I can help answer that since
Okay.
Lou isn't here. This map is going to be corrected, and there's still some zoning work that needs to be done with this Title 19 stuff as far as the industrial and whatnot.
Right.
There are retail businesses in the industrial zone, not a real good fit, so we'll probably have to come back with a commercial industrial zone or some hybrid of.
Right.
Because there's a lot of businesses down there that just grew up over the years. Matter of fact, there's a lot of them should be there, but that will be addressed next. This
Okay.
does not address that, and
Right.
it does actually complicate that a little bit. But that you eat a rhinoceros one bite at a time, you know.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
Just a comment to that. I know it was discussed and talked about that that's going to be pushed hard to update that map and the zoning, and to look at it as, and not spot zone. So that's going to be forced through planning and zoning real shortly, I would imagine. It's going to be presented by staff to us, probably coming real soon with this issue.
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else? Councilman Garner?
To go up back to Councilwoman Lumen's question, if we don't redefine residential, because there's no rule in there that states you have to build a house in any certain amount of time. So it could be indefinitely a garage, which then changes the whole purpose of that property. If it's never used for residents and there is no resident, how is it considered a residential? Is my first question to you, Tom.
Yeah, I would have to research.
If from my understanding, the whole idea of the residential zone is to build for people to live, period. It's not to have a shop. We've gone over this in the last meeting. That's what your business districts are for, your industrial districts or zones are for. If you want to have a shop, why are we doing this in the residential? I still don't understand the purpose of having just a garage on a piece of property and not having a requirement that a residence is built there. And then my next question would be, let's say somebody builds this. They build this massive garage. It's going to meet the setbacks. It's going to meet that 125% if the house is built to spec. It sells. I sell it. I don't want to build a house. I've decided to move out of Rawlins. Next guy comes in. How does he know that that's in place? That he's going to have to build. He has plans to build a house, but he's looking at this. Oh, I got this beautiful garage. I'm going to build a small home. Doesn't realize that this code is in effect that says you got to build it to the 125%. Whose responsibility is that at the time? Is it the city's responsibility, the seller's responsibility, the buyer's responsibility to disclose that information when buying?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
So it would be the owner of the property's responsibility at that point in time, and that would be pointed out when the individual building the home was seeking building permits at that point in time. That would be our inspector going to the property, seeing the size of the building that's already built on that property, and saying what the statute says or the ordinance says on that particular thing. So it would fall on the owner to get the proper permits. It'd fall on the city to enforce and inform of what the ordinance would be and say this would be the size you could build or have to build minimum. That's how that would end up going.
Well, and
Go ahead.
I can add to that a little bit. It's, you know, first of all, it's your responsibility to know what your property is zoned at, number one. And if you're going to improve it in any way, shape, or form, you really need to go check and see what improvements you can't do, that sort of thing. That's when you know whether it's residential or commercial, whatever. The one thing that lets it remain in residential, in my mind, is the fact that you don't buy a piece of property and put a garage on that piece of property. You still can only build the size of a garage that would allow you to build a house also and maintain all setbacks. I have 4 of these presently within a block of me, garage onlys. Eventually there'll be houses on a couple of them. One of them, there's no way that you know, it's a grandfather situation, but like I said last time, they're my best neighbors. I've struggled with this a little bit myself, but I think that we need to pass this as is. That's my opinion. Did you have something? Somebody had their hand up over here. Bruce, sorry.
The other thing with the residential is it can't be used as business or anything like that. It's for residents. It's like for storing your cars in or your boats in and campers, stuff like that. It ain't for business use. They can't hire any, you know, do anything like that out of it because it's in the residence right now.
So my concern with that is just going to become a junkyard because you're going to have a garage. You just said one of my biggest concerns is they're going to say, oh, I don't want this boat in front of my house and I want this camper in front of my house. I have a lot that I'm not building a house on. It's huge. I'm going to go put my stuff over there next to my garage, out of sight, out of mind. The lack of care when that happens. What's nice now with the way that our code is, you have to build a house. And if you live on that property, you're more than likely going to take care of it a lot better than you would if it's across town and not adjacent to your property. And I've done random like questions with citizens about this one. I give them the same scenario on each question, and we go over. Yeah, you own a piece of property. Somebody builds a shop right next to it. Never puts a house in. What are your thoughts? Well, why would they build a shop in residential? So I explain what we're doing with the code, and then they said, no, I wouldn't. And it's probably over 10 people that I've talked to, and I've talked to WHAM. They said that they can't think of a single city that would fundamentally change what residential zone means. And
Who did you talk to?
I talked to Dave.
Dave,
Yes.
the non-attorney guy.
I have a call into the attorney. He's not in office until Wednesday.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. Anyway, I spoke with realtors also about this, and they have the same concern with because my question was, how does this affect the value? And you were right, Steve. They do a comparable of like and kind. So that is correct. They're going to compare it. Your value of your house is going to be based off comparables in the area. Their concern was when you do, it's going to be the buyer comes to buy the house and they look around and they got garages around it and no homes, and let's say the garage is a storage area, then it may not hurt the value of the house on an analysis, but it hurts the value of trying to sell it because people are less likely, or they're going to look at that and say, nah, I don't want to live next to just shops. I want residents, I want neighbors. And so it affects it. And this was, and I called him specifically because I wanted an opinion from the professional side of this. So, all my calls, all my comparisons, all my talks to citizens, not a single person liked the idea of never having a requirement for a home on the lot. And they definitely don't like the idea that you could just buy a lot, put a garage up, and not have adjacent property to it.
Now, it would be possible to change this and put a time limit, right? I mean, the time limit was 6 months. We had 5 years, I don't know. We can change it in the future if it's noticed to be a problem. But the other thing I also see is an empty lot is a potential residence. It's in the residential area, it's a potential residence. So building a garage is just the beginning of that becoming a residence. They said they can't use it for anything else. And they may take better care of it rather than a lot full of weeds. You have a garage that you're taking care of.
Councilman Weisenberg.
I would second that. And if you drive through our neighborhoods, that I will be the one to tell you, you drive through the neighborhoods, you see some properties, empty, vacant lots, just storage of cars and everything else. And maybe if you allow them to build something in that aspect, that they would take care of it, like you had said, a lot more than letting the weeds grow 3 foot tall. This would become a issue for code enforcement, and we would just have to make sure that our code enforcement is on par and pushing the fact that we're not allowing a junkyard in front of something like that.
Councilman Garner.
Ms. Lynn, what was the last part of your comment? Sorry, drawing a blank real quick.
That if you have an empty lot, it's in a residential area, that's a potential residence.
Right, okay, thank you. It's a potential residence if you leave the zoning as is and require that a house is gonna be built there. Otherwise, the potential's gone. You have a potential now and indefinitely to have a garage there if they built a garage. It's because there's no requirement to build a residence at that point. We're removing that aspect by allowing this. So the potential, yes, you could have a residence, but you have potential now to just have a permanent storage area, garage. To Chris's point, go to the industrial side where there are shops, and you've been there, you've seen it, you've seen how bad it is. Code enforcement can't keep up with that. And that we're struggling with. So now we're going to open this up all the way to our residents, and that it seems counterproductive. You can already build a garage. All I'm saying is I don't think we should remove this as the requirement to build a home within a certain amount of time.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Was there any, when this was discussed, Chris, I gather you were there, or Mr. Weisenberg, as to why the time to build a home was completely removed rather than replacing it?
A lot of it is due to development, and people already own these lots that they would like to build a garage. They understand that the setbacks are going to be the same, that everything's the same, going to be the same for setbacks. It's just removing a requirement of the time frame of that, right? It was thought of as a good potential for development, tax base increase, a lot of things go with that. And then the other thing with that was the fact that people want to just build people want to build a home in the future, but the price of stuff is not feasible for them to be building a home. And a lot of people that build homes themselves build a garage first or a area of such, right? I've seen that happen multiple times, not just in Rawlins, across different states. I mean, I got examples of that happening all the time. A lot of people that build their own homes or residents build a garage first for storage and work areas. So it's gonna allow that to happen. So, and a lot of things don't happen right away in 6 months, a year, you know, some people take 10 years to build a home, you know, so this is allowing that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Garner?
This is to the attorney. Can we get, or is it possible to give an opinion on this or get it? What's your professional advice here with this? Because
Through the attorney. Through the attorney.
This has been through an attorney, correct? Through the planning and zoning and,
It was sent through the attorney before it come to council.
Yes.
Council, attorney all approved it before it come to council.
but it gets voted on, right? Were there any negative votes?
There was no negative votes on any of the other boards. They was all positive for it.
And that attorney would sign off and say, this is not going to affect our.
no,
That's not their job.
no attorney would sign off to say that. That's
not their job.
That's not
Well,
their
look,
job. Their
well,
job
It's
is to
just a
say, is
legal-
this
it's a
legal or
question.
is this
The
not
legal
legal?
question is, can you do it? Yes, you can.
Okay. Does this affect, does this hurt Rawlins in a negative way is what I want to know.
Still not their job.
It's not a legal question.
So, this has already been through legal counsel. Our former legal counsel reviewed this document, said it passed for legal reasons. There's no other reason to have to go to any other legal situation. It's already been through there, said, yes, this is okay to go at that prior time.
She wasn't present for these conversations, so with the information that I've presented, would that change?
Our prior city attorney was present in multiple conversations through multiple board conversations
Okay,
and
listen to my
prior
question,
council
please.
member meetings.
I asked, was she here for the questions I've been asking and for the information I've presented? She wasn't.
It doesn't matter. We're on third reading.
Right.
The third reading.
She wasn't here. We didn't even have an attorney second reading.
The attorney that already went through this process is only going to deal with the legal question. This is not a legal question you're asking. The question you're asking is a question of, is it right or wrong in relationship to what the city itself wants?
Okay. Thank you for clearing.
I
that
call
up.
for vote.
I got it.
The vote has been called for, so discussion will cease. And please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Okay.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 nay. The 1 nay was Councilmember Gardner.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go out of order here just a second because when the Parks and Rec Committee members were up here giving a report, I was supposed to give you these thank you cards, and I didn't do that, and so I would like to at this time. I apologize. I looked at Myra, and she got it about the same time. And thank you all again for your hard work, dedication. All right, so now we are on to new business. Let's see, where are we at here? Who had your hand up first? Councilman Weisenberg.
I move to approve a 24-hour catering permit for What the Buck LLC, DBA Buck Sports Grill, liquor license number 83, to cater a wedding at Elk Hollow Lodge, Saratoga, Wyoming, on Saturday, August 12th, 2023.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve a 24-hour catering permit for What the Buck LLC, DBA Buck Sports Grill, liquor license number 83, to cater a wedding at Elk Hollow Lodge in Saratoga Wyoming on Saturday, August 12th, 2023. Is there any discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
The only thing I want to say is thank you for bringing this forward with plenty of time. A lot of times this don't happen and it's like an immediate thing that has to be done or
Well,
rectified. So I want to say thank you all.
I can tell you, a lot of it's Lynn, and a lot of it's the different owners, just so you know. And she
yeah.
makes sure they know.
I'm just saying thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
That sounds kind of snarky. Yay.
I'm just so happy today.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right. Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is an executive session. Councilperson Wells.
I move to go into executive session at 8:35 PM per Wyoming Statute 16-4405 to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law and to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body makes good from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness, any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated following the hearing or executive session. The governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session.
Second.
In a motion made and seconded to go into executive session. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got sunburnt.
Did you?
My feet.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst place. I did that in a canoe. Had no shoes on.
This is why I don't have shoes on.
It's not funny. It's terrible.
Just don't set your emotion on that.
That stuff does work. I don't know how it does, but keep that up. My son is so harsh. I came here and my son head, my shoulders. And well, this is when I first moved here. We were already out there since
I watched their dad.
30 minutes or something
He
fishing.
came up with the first dad, and they went to Seminole. He came from Colorado, came up from Seminole. He said, "Where's the goddamn
That's kind of cool. The neighbors. Let me go out and get the horses.
Yeah.
Well, you probably have now. I'm just watching what is available public. No, there was no. I'm seeing the motion pass. And she didn't even know what happened. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a question. Thanks, guys.
That is, it's one of those things that. You are. And I know which, see that's what she sees.
But I'll tell you what, I'll see you.
Okay. Yeah, I was
It's so far, I tested it out there twice, I can log on and log in. So before it was like,
I do have some other things after the meeting.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't fall over.
Oh, my.
Banks, or maybe travel logs? Or maybe you could Good job, guys.
I totally get that. I mean, we often say like 500, but when you start cracking down.
Yeah. Well, I just I didn't mean like a cot, I meant like a hotel. Not like a basement. So that'll get you a nice and early and a big window. You should go
It's interesting is how like
server room. That's like a lot of white noise, it's fairly warm. Be better in the remember the mask. No, but
Actually, the preferred one, you're just kind of.
yes, that's exactly what I did turn that back.
Yeah, we just turned it off because it was on, because we had a picture of the
Will it go back on again? Yes. So can you fix the 1998 software that we're not allowed to touch? I never break it. It's just
Jackie right now. I got her as far as, I was just working on her album this year.
there's more
Just the same stuff as everybody else.
Thank you, how are you doing?
yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to do it. It's like exciting and scary.
That was really nice. I woke up that morning with a turn of headache and I just didn't get rid of it. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I didn't see her part. Did you? It's kind of fun. Yeah. Cool. I never got to watch it. I learned to skip her like those times. It's possible to say that.
As far as like work, good for,
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Great, right now, we'll see.
Actually, there are 3 of us. There is Colonel Johnson, Adelaide Myers, and myself. So we are, the way we're gonna do it is, because they're in Sarasota, I'm here in Rawlins. And we're gonna do on a week rotated schedule. And so every 3 weeks you'll see the same, you'll get to see the faces again. And also that way it will allow us to become well, well enough versed in each of those areas instead of one person does this in case weather or other emergencies or other coordinations or private clients comes up with parties. Thank you very much. And it's still like, yes. Thank you. And Tom has all my contact information and all 3 of us, so whoever's on call that week, and I can say, actually, I just want to make sure that you do it's more.
We actually have a
I mean, it's mostly like we'll go through. I mean, everyone else.
Is this where they're all the way?
That's right. And we go, and it works. Yes.
I have a time from Thursday for my grandmother, so she just get it to me tomorrow. Sure.
Likewise.
Then I'll get that other thing to you tomorrow. I'll get you a picture.
Picture, please. You don't get to go downstairs and No, that's executive session. It's the, unless they need legal. Yeah, information. Yeah, or legal guidance, exactly. Yeah, opinion or whatever, yeah. Yeah. I've been looking forward to reading this. Hearing about it online, people commenting on it, so I'm glad to see the return of print media. I love the feel of a newspaper.
I know that, so on social media, I think it was the Babel one, they were commenting on the Title 19 because we took out the whole not having to put it in the paper.
The paper?
Yeah, the notices, we took it out because we're doing it, I can't remember what we did. We did something with the notice for the zoning commission and Board of Adjustments not having to be in the paper. And we had that discussion and that
girl.
Yeah.
It's supposed to go.
Well, I guess that's what they were saying. I was like, I don't remember us taking it out.
I don't remember that ever coming out.
I know we talked about it, because we talked about the fact that the newspaper doesn't come out.
We talked about
consistently
how to do it,
enough.
but and so I think the discussion, I have a horrible memory, so I could be wrong, but what I recall the discussion not provide notice, but to the discussion was on maybe doing online.
The online,
online legal
version of it, right? And
Yes.
because it's so hard. Well, now that we have this, it might be easier. But before when we had that meeting, we didn't even have this.
Right.
But
the discussion.
Daily Times doesn't come out. Right.
But they come out twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday.
Yes, but you have to have it in a week beforehand.
Right.
To get it in the paper.
And same thing with, and also the Sarasota Sun. So there is a general circulation. And so that's what both of those are considered, general circulation. Then this will be, but they don't yet do legals, which is like something that they might do.
Okay.
Is what he was saying.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was reading it and I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I don't remember us actually saying no, but I remember
No,
having
we
a
said-
discussion.
Yeah. we
About
said
how to do
about
it.
how to do it because of.
And does.
But we also discussed that
Meet it,
because.
require, or meet that requirement.
Because will, at least planning and zoning, will not hold meetings. We will not do a special meeting unless it's a safety or health issue.
Oh, special meetings. Do you
Yes.
guys have regularly scheduled meetings?
Yes, every first Tuesday or second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
And so applications have to get vetted within the appropriate time frame. If they don't get vetted within the appropriate time frame, it gets pushed to the next meeting.
Okay, then you just don't have a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Board of Adjustments, and we only have a meeting if people put in
an application.
the variance in, or there's like we have a Title 19 meeting.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was the discussion, but unless it's we decline to attend special meetings to put out somebody else's fire if they had advance notice for it. And even so, the public notice requirements still allow a special meeting even if there is no publication, because it can be posted on the doors of the
building. We do it on social media. There's the whole.
Yeah.
I get the phone message thing whenever
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not planned, right? It sends me a text message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my recollection of the discussion, but there was nothing about discontinuing that because that is not how
Yeah.
those,
I was
they
reading something
require.
like, that's it. And I didn't actually go into the document, and I actually had the paper form, and I should have just went and grabbed the book.
Yeah, let's see.
And grabbed it and went and looked, and I just didn't have time because I was sitting waiting for my kid to come out of something. But I kept going, I remember having the discussion about the paper being an issue for certain situations. But then I remember just talking about doing the online thing, so I was like, well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's required by the Wyoming statutes, and so we have to give public notice. It's also Wyoming statutory law.
So then
And
somebody
we
was
never-
because they were saying that we took it out, and I was like.
Never took public notice out.
Unless they were reading public notice as strictly not print publication. Let's see if I can find that post.
Yeah, I don't know where, I mean, if it's on Rawlins News and Chatter or whatever, the Babel thing.
Yeah. It was on the Babel one.
Grain of salt.
Yeah, well, sometimes I get on there just to see what they're saying, because then I can
Right.
better address it, especially since I was in that meeting, but I
Oh,
was reading
right.
that and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you were in that meeting.
Yeah. But I also don't remember having specific discussion about the whole thing that Daryl brought up. And I remember was talking about changing it to them just being able to have a garage, which I then remember the conversation of, well, yeah, if I own this property and
And it's
I buy the
adjacent.
adjacent property, I'm gonna wanna build a garage and still have to have the appropriate setbacks, because if I sell that property separately and somebody wants to build a house on it, that makes sense to me. Never even went in my head to the fact that if somebody was building a brand new subdivision and you're the first person to buy property and build a house on it, you build a house with it, but all of your neighbors buy property and put up storage sheds. You're not living in a neighborhood, you're living in a storage community.
Right, but maybe the way to get around that would be, garage is one thing, private property, right? It's your private
Right.
property that's being stored there. But if you're storing a bunch of stuff, then it may be able to, even if it's a private storage, I don't know, I'd have to read that, I need to read
So I
it, I'm
think
trying
that-
to walk myself through
That whole,
through the analysis, right?
I was
mean,
thinking about, Tom's, behind the donut shop. Used to be Jerry's Donuts, whatever it is now.
Oh, yeah,
Donuts,
yeah.
whatever.
But
So-
that's industrial.
It is industrial. But I happen to know that he gets in trouble a lot because he ends up with a bunch of junk cars sitting out in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, code enforcement goes over and yells at him, man, to get him moved out.
Right.
That's what I was envisioning. Granted, it's industrial and he's got different rules he has to abide by. But what would have, that's private property. He's not actually running a business out of it. He's just using it as personal
So
storage.
walking through the analysis, right,
Mhm.
is that cars that are out of use, like so derelict vehicles,
Right.
have to be, that's a different code.
Right.
Or that are inoperable or out of, not being,
They're not
registered.
registered or whatever, yeah.
Yes, they are out of, they're in violation of the ordinance.
Okay.
The issue is, well, who's reporting it? It can only be, just with, with a lot of things, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Unless it's reported,
Right.
then nobody's gonna pay attention to it.
And our code enforcement guys are so.
Right,
thorough,
understaffed.
Because it's just Ariel doing it, right?
I think,
Is it Ariel?
wasn't there she's doing some things, but I think it's, there's actually a code enforcement officer with the PD.
Oh, okay.
I think, don't quote me on that. I thought that there was.
I have no idea where that came from.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, my phone starts playing Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, that's funny.
Don't know where that came from. It wasn't even like somebody calling me. That's weird.
Right.
Where it is. So then, so you know the garage that's on Spruce? Above 15th probably? It's got the big woolly mammoth things out in front of it.
Oh, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
on, yeah, like 15th or 13th.
Yeah, somewhere up in that area.
Yes.
He's got a bunch of vehicles sitting out on the side of his that haven't moved in.
Right.
I mean, granted, I'm not driving by every day to verify that the same vehicles are there,
I think
but there's
that
some
they-
older vehicles
Yeah,
that
I
are
think
sitting
that
there.
they swap, because he does work on them.
Work on them, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the difference in that happening next to you?
Well,
But
that's
he did the
also
same thing.
considered an industrial or commercial.
Is it really?
I
Because
think
right
it's
next
a
to his
business
house.
district. Yes, I think it changes right then and there.
Right at his property?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
You got a reason or something right there? I don't.
Because
know
across
that
the
it's-
street is
You know what would be
commercial or whatever.
helpful is if the, yeah, because, and then right, it's, Ichiban is right there too.
Yeah, and the hairdressing place is across the
Yeah.
street from there. So, yeah. So maybe that first set of houses right there
That
is-
first row on Spruce, or,
Mhm.
yes, Spruce.
The first set of property.
Is all.
Okay, I guess I never really thought about that, because I was thinking, was their house? right?
Commercial.
Yeah. So it's.
And then after that, there's several streets that are like that, like all the way down Cedar
Mhm.
is like that as well, where, you know, like where, Kilburn is across the street, those are commercial, but a house back in there.
So then we have houses in commercial areas, because there's a couple of houses down in Cedar right there too, right?
Yeah.
Like there'd be a business, a house, a business, a business, a house, a warehouse.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of those are grandfathered in.
Grandfathered in because we weren't doing codes back then.
Right, or
Okay.
there was some different version or something like that.
Okay. I remember, I came from Denver, and I remember Denver having issues when they were trying to rebuild downtown Denver, 16th Street Mall and Larimer Street, because they had all of those, well, we've got a bunch of them here, but the businesses are in the bottom building, but then there's all the space above it, so they were turning them into condos and
Right,
malls.
multi-use.
Yeah, they were trying to do the multi-use thing, I remember them having all kinds of issues with that.
Yeah, multi-use. And that's how it is downtown here too, is there's a lot of multi-use.
Yeah.
But in regard to, I don't you know, some of the questions he asked were not discussed during those meetings, you know, and I remember Patty was like very adamantly against, you know, like oversized garages that were even, you know, a tiny bit over the size of the
house.
adjoining structure, right?
Yeah.
Or the accompanying
We
structure.
said 125, right?
Right.
Which to me makes sense. I mean, you don't just have cars in your garage, you have, when I had an extended two-car garage.
Right.
And my husband is a woodworker. by
Right, so
hobby.
there's a shop.
So there's a shop behind it, and my car is the only car that goes in the garage because it's toys.
Right.
The toy is
exactly.
my car, the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we hadn't discussed about like a new development, but usually a new development will have covenants. That's how you, it's kind of like the way things are going these days.
Well, and I wondered, because you don't see covenants in Rawlins.
There are a few.
Are there really?
Mm-hmm. In Painted Hills, there's covenants.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, somebody told me that you couldn't have covenants in Wyoming.
Oh, yeah, no.
When we moved here, because we came from a covenant-controlled community. My entire family lives, all the Denver people, they all live in
Yeah.
covenant-controlled communities, because it's huge.
And I actually think that there's, like, no, I don't remember what it's called, that other area, but on, not Highland Hills, but where Lurwick and
Yeah.
all of the school is.
Right.
I think that there might be some.
The newer area behind
The elementary
the
school.
K1. the one
Yeah.
Right there, yeah. Maybe, interesting. Actually, I know somebody lives there, I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah.
How does that work exactly? So anyways, I was at a county commissioners meeting, and they were discussing covenants on new neighborhoods being built in the county, and they passed it, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was sitting in the meeting with Courtney Knight,
Uh-huh.
and they're the ones that bought all that property out by,
Right,
and they subdivided it, made it a subdivision, and they were putting up covenants.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want
That
junk
type of-
next to them. right?
Exactly.
But then they were talking about building garages. They started their building just before the whole COVID craziness and price of building stuff went sky high. And they were starting with a garage.
Right, I mean, and that's, it's a popular thing, barn dominiums.
Yeah, so they ended up
And all
turning
that.
theirs into a barn dominium because they couldn't afford to also build a house. Because
Yeah.
eventually we'll get to the point where we actually build our house. But
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
living in their
And
garage.
that's a legitimate, you know,
Yeah.
concern and, you know, so you want people to move in, but you want to increase population and you want people to move in, but you don't
You don't know
give
how
them the opportunity
Yeah.
to make their way.
to do it.
Right.
Well, building stuff, I mean, that was, they've been in their house 2 years now, 3 years? It's gotta be 2 years. 2 years now that they've been in their place. And she's like, building equipment is still sky high.
Oh, and.
I mean, it's not as bad.
And the interest rates on, like, they're at
New
100%.
construction loans? Who wants to pay that?
Right? Who can afford to pay that? It's ridiculous.
We were friends just went to go get a house and they were excellent credit, like 800s credit, right? And they were quoted like 8%, 7%,
Right.
something percent on a home loan. And I bought a house 2 years ago and I'm under 4. And I'm like,
It's right, and even before you're like, oh, that sucks.
I know.
But can you imagine? And there's people buying stuff. It's unbelievable.
I think it's because people don't understand interest. Honestly.
And they're doing arm loans too,
Oh,
which is like, that's just like
do
terrifying.
you know what ARM means?
Right? I mean,
Do you know how that
adjustable
works?
Rate, and it's depending on the term. It's like every year or every 2 years. My gosh.
And all of a sudden your payment is so high that you can't even.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Well, shoot, my payment has changed twice in the 2 years we've been here because of property taxes. It hasn't been a lot. It's
Yeah.
$20, $30. I mean, it's not like, and I'm not the kind of person that gets a loan that maxes out my budget. But
Mhm.
I can imagine people who do,
Right.
and then they can't afford the extra $30 a month.
Right. Because they also just bought a brand new truck for him and his wife and keep a $90,000 truck. I see that.
Or go buy it, that's it. We got approved for our house loan, now we're gonna go buy 2 new cars. Or should we work that way? I have to teach, I've been trying to teach my children that. My teenagers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You're gonna start out with a beater just like I did.
Yes.
I started in a Pinto, Ford Pinto.
I had a Volkswagen Bug, 74.
I think that's what my Pinto was.
A 74 Volkswagen Bug. And so I got it in October for Christmas that year. My dad gave me new seats, so, new leather on the seats. like
Oh,
big-
seat covers.
Yeah, not to put on like, we took the seats out, took a 2
Oh,
and a bolster
really?
and got all new, because the springs were popping through the back seats.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got all new seats for Christmas that year, and then for my following birthday, I got a new stereo system. It was a pretty rockin' bug.
Right. Sounds like it.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. I drove that thing all the way through high school and halfway to college. And then we gave it to my brother. My son, my oldest, he's 21, has owned 3 pickups. 1, 2, 3, 4 pickups, and he's 21 years old. I don't buy vehicles for my kids.
Right. Right. Hey, so tell me about the St. Christopher's Highway. So you guys are like almost done with all that. You just need the recognition. Because I saw you've got a good website that talks about everything.
Our fake pictures for the people I have.
I noticed it was like,
Even for myself, this is so bad. I'm the one developing the. I went to go get, a friend of mine was gonna go take my picture, because I just don't have really good headshot pictures of myself. And then I got sunburned and then my lip blistered and then I got cold sores. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna wait until that heals. I don't want that on the website.
A little self-conscious right now.
Yeah, so we're working on getting pictures of everybody, but yeah. So yeah, we, about a year ago we started.
Mhm.
Well, a year ago we were in discussions, just trying to figure out how we can better serve that transient type community
Mhm.
that ends up stuck here a lot. And so So Bobby.
And sometimes they end up staying for
Years.
decades. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have had lots of people, there's like, they end up stuck here for a week and a half, and they're like, I need to get a job, I need money,
And so they stay.
yeah, so they get a job, and then they move into a better job, and next thing we know, they're here, which is great. Move into our community. Sometimes I decided to move to Rawlins, so my first question is, what made you make that decision? Like, so the further my car went, not a good plan. Winters here are hard.
They are.
They're hard.
They are. They're extreme. That is for sure.
Especially this last one. A little crazy. But yeah, it's been good. So anyways, we just started those discussions. The Episcopal churches worldwide or nationwide, I'm not sure how that organization exactly works, has a like a grant program kind of thing that they give all of their churches and they can apply for it, and it was a $40,000 grant. And so through the St. Thomas Episcopal Church, Bobby wrote a grant, and the church, so they give the money to the church, and then the church rotated it over to St. Christopher's. Like as a donation.
Oh, so they can transfer it.
Yeah. So yeah, so in the grant, she put what it was supposed to be for, but they had to write the check to the church, and then the church transferred it to us. So my husband is a pastor of a church as well, and our region had a matching grant, so I wrote a grant proposal for that, and we got, I think it was $7,000 from them for a first-time grant. Second time around, I can ask for more, so it's kind of one of those keep working up as you prove yourself worthy. Right. So we did that, and then a bunch of the other churches. So I don't want to say you're religious ignorant, so if I'm saying something you know, don't be afraid to say this. Church people will make a tithe to the church, and then they take a portion of that tithe to help the community, or people who call the church and say, hey, I need help with my electric bill, or that kind of stuff. So a lot of the churches in the area have taken a portion of that fund and then given it to St. Christopher's, and then when they get calls from people that are
They
not,
can direct.
yeah, so it's just a stranger on the road. They're like, yeah, we support this organization, and then they direct them to us, so that works great. In that case, my board is on our board. Michael Lon is on our board for search and rescue. I think those are our two out of religious community members. We've got several people from, like, we've had somebody from the Cove showing up. We've got somebody from YO Help that shows up to our general board meetings. The lady who used to run Salvation Army, but she no longer does, is now being ran by YO Help. She used to be a part of our board before she retired. So they were all we're just trying to pull in different community members. And
well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind
that
of
is fantastic. There's a lot of unity and cross support.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear the success of it.
Yeah. So we deliberately decided to focus on just non-residents first time around. Like, let's not dive into the deep end and kill ourselves. Let's
right.
take a focus.
Make it scalable.
Yeah, we did. And then we also started a thing called blessing bags. So it's just a little, I don't know, cloth bag with a rope on it that closes.
Yeah, I saw one of those little backpacks.
Yeah, little backpack.
I saw the picture on your website.
Yeah, so they're filled with things like toothbrush and toothpaste and deodorant and a hairbrush, and so it's just really good.
Basic essentials.
Yeah, and we've got them by age, so we'll have like an infant one, and there'll be diapers and wipes and cream, a bottle, a rattle. Toddler ones will have like a little stuffed animal in it. So those people who get into the car accidents and their car is totaled and they've lost everything, we hand those out. We end up with a lot of.
So you're also working with like the EMTs and.
Oh yeah. EMTs, police department, marshals, highway patrol, sheriffs, all of them. We've even helped people getting out of jail, like they were traveling through town for whatever reason, got picked up, ended up in jail for whatever amount of time, and they're getting out. They're not from here, they don't want to stay here, but they've been in jail for a year and a half or whatever, and they have no way to get home. So we'll get a call from the jail, like, hey, we got so-and-so getting out, they need to get to.
So what do you buy a bus ticket?
Bus tickets. So we buy the bus tickets to get them out. Sometimes I don't get them all the way to their destination. I'm like, yeah, call your family, call. There's got to be some buy-in with some of that.
Yeah.
But we transported a lady and her daughter. They got into a car accident with her husband or her boyfriend. They weren't English speaking. On the other, almost to Wamsutter, they got into a car accident. Police or highway patrol stopped to pick him up, and he had a warrant out for arrest in Florida, so he got picked up. They actually picked up the lady and her daughter out of the car with no shoes on in the middle of winter. Like, I don't know, I'm like, what? Apparently there were shoes in the car, but for some reason
They didn't retrieve them.
they didn't go get them. So they brought him to town. We put up the mom and the daughter for like 4 days until he could go through the hearing thing. Well, his offense was severe enough that they were extraditing him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she wasn't a legal alien either. They didn't have green cards or anything like that. They were here completely illegally. So we were just trying to figure out how do we get her back to Florida. And just on a whim one day, I picked up the phone and started typing in, Travelocity or something. And I found tickets from Denver to Florida for $89 a piece. I'm like, it'd be cheaper to put them on a plane and get them to Florida. She had an ID. The little girl was little enough she didn't have to have an ID. So we had one of our guys, one of our pastors actually, he drove them from Rawlins to DIA, dropped them off. We got them on a plane and shipped them out of here. But they picked up like a week and a half trying to figure everything out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a scary situation to find yourself in if you under those kinds of circumstances.
Yeah, and she didn't speak English at all. We looked up, actually the pastor that took her down had somebody at his church who speaks Spanish really well. And so every time we needed to communicate with her, he would go do it with his church guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that we could at least communicate with her. She had zero English and she had zero money. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just craziness.
So,
Good stories.
yeah.
There's some crazy hair-raising ones. We had some guys that had a bunch of warrants out for their arrest, shot
And
at
I'm
a police
and
officer.
there are probably some people who know how to work the system and manipulate.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So we go through the police department with all of our referrals. So we go, they have to be checked out, and that's actually after the whole.
And it's for a lot of safety also.
It
They're
is, because
volunteers as well.
I'm meeting them someplace. It's me. So I'm out there, I'm meeting them at the gas station or somewhere else.
I couldn't go to that.
Okay, oh, they're coming back.
Yes.
You're like, I was drunk.
That was quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't 2 hours.
Oh, I got my computer back.
2 hour one. Oh, sorry.
Last.
What was the last one, 2 hours? I wasn't here.
No,
Oh my
it was
gosh,
not.
we gotta.
How long was it?
3 almost, wasn't it?
What?
It was
The
like
last-
10 and a half, yeah, or 3.5,
Yeah.
or 3.
Oh my goodness.
Plus the work session.
I wasn't
before.
here for that either.
So you had work session, regular council meeting, and then we were going to go after.
We got out at 10:30 that night.
Oh my goodness.
That,
And we thought it was going to be short.
that wasn't, you had no work session either.
I will sign these real quick and then pass them along.
Here's the
last one, actually.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I knew there was an issue.
I don't know. Seems to me as if people get a
Sometimes I
head
feel
start on
crazy,
stuff.
like
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
That's
gonna
fine.
lie.
I'll get them signed tonight.
Okay.
My money out, so.
Are you gonna get us out? Are
Huh?
you gonna get us out on the executive?
Yeah, I'm waiting on him to walk through a door and hurry up and sit down. You're almost last. Oh, goodness. You got it?
The one?
Yeah. Oh, you were third to last, sorry. You're in the middle of the pack. Even Bruce beat you up there. Funny. Jesus.
Councilman Weisenberg?
I move to come out of executive session at 9:13 PM per Wyoming statute 16-4-405.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to come out of executive session at 9:13, was it? 9:13 PM. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
Yay.
voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, was there any objections to matters discussed in executive session? Seeing that there are no objections, we'll go on to the next thing. Executive session minutes of July 5th. Councilman Wells?
I move to approve the executive session minutes of July 5th, 2023, regular council meeting.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve executive session minutes of July 5th, 2023, regular council meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yay.
Yay.
Yes, sir.
Just gonna abstain.
Was everyone there?
The 5th?
Yeah,
The day after.
that was the special meeting.
No, it was a regular meeting. Special meeting was the 12th.
The
We haven't
12th.
approved those.
Oh, we've already done those.
It was right day after Memorial Day, day after.
I was there.
Give me 2
We're
seconds.
all so
please.
tired.
Sorry.
Kind of confused us all.
Are you trying to figure out
All,
attendance?
everybody was there.
Positive I was there.
Yeah, everybody.
was there.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, we signed.
Don't say. No, no, see.
Yeah, it's only like 3 lines. It's in the sealed envelope in the attorney's office.
Oh, that was, okay. I see. Yeah, now I got you.
Either you or your ghost was here.
You were all here.
Yeah.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Wait.
Oh, I forgot. We have one more motion.
I move to authorize the mayor's signature on an employment contract.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to authorize my signature on an employment contract. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Will have to be either a roll call or.
We can do verbal. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So motion carries. At this time, I'll adjourn this meeting, and our next meeting is August 1st, 2023.
Yes, that August meeting, there will be no work session, so everybody can attend the National Night Out at Bolton Park from 5 to 8, like the mayor was.
5 to 8.
Well, the meeting starts at 7:30.
Well, I know when our meeting starts, but that's when
Yeah.
Bolton Park.
That's a great event.
Yeah,
It gets
that'll be a lot
better
of
of,
But there is no work session, so everybody is invited to.
I will be gone.
it gets better
You
attended
get to
every
do
year.
work instead of.
Yeah, I'll be in Casper.
Yep.
Casper's
Oh, I
not
thought
too
that was
bad
that.
place.
No. I just had it handover on my computer after I took it over it.
Is this part of your leadership thing or your work?
Work.
So your leadership thing is all me?
Okay.
It's like.
I was the last one you
Tuesday
said,
through-
correct?
Yes.
How do you know?
Yeah, I checked.
Do you have to drive home, Panita, or do you live here? You live here, don't you? Oh, okay,
She's
good.
like, oh, I live here.
Oh, I was worried about you.
She has to drive over there in the morning to work, not tonight.
The antelope in the morning are like,
$3,500 cash home, and then it's like an additional 3,000
No,
over the.
it goes in that office
Yeah.
and it goes in that box.